One of the regular viewers of this show suggested that I talk about the failed Pied Piper strategy revealed by the WikiLeaks John Podesta emails. The stupid assumption the DNC made was that candidates such as Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, and Ben Carson would be unelectable because the voting populace would find them too distasteful. The DNC told the media, who leapt to do their bidding because of increased ratings, to elevate these candidates. This is a 2016 article by Ben Norton, how the Hillary Clinton campaign deliberately elevated Donald Trump with its Pied Piper strategy. Republican Donald Trump, a far-right demagogue who campaigned on a slew of bigoted, xenophobic policies, has won the 2016 presidential election in a shocking victory few people predicted. The central point of today's show is to see why they should have predicted this. Donald Trump used to be a Democrat, and he ran to the left of Hillary in lots of ways, and he still is left of Joe Biden in lots of ways. As usual, I'm amazed at how few people see this the way I do. I feel like such a tiny speck of information, off in the side eddies of the smallest streams. What was not often acknowledged in Trump's heated race against Democrat Hillary Clinton, however, was how her campaign fueled his rise to power. An email recently released by the whistleblowing organization WikiLeaks shows how the Clinton campaign and Democratic Party bear direct responsibility for propelling the bigoted billionaire to the White House. In its self-described Pied Piper strategy, the Clinton campaign proposed intentionally cultivating extreme right-wing presidential candidates, hoping to turn them into the new mainstream of the Republican Party in order to try to increase Clinton's chances of winning. Clinton would have done a lot better against Jeb Bush, but hindsight is 2020. The Clinton campaign and Democratic National Committee called for using far-right candidates as a cudgel to move the more established candidates further to the right. Clinton's camp insisted that Trump and other extremists should be elevated to leaders of the pack, and media outlets should be told to take them seriously. The strategy backfired royally. On April 23, 2015, 2 weeks after Hillary Clinton officially declared her presidential campaign, her staff sent out a group message with information for a strategy call. The email included as an attachment a memo for the DNC discussion. The memo is dated April 7, 2015. Friends, this memo is intended to outline the strategy and goals a potential Hillary Clinton presidential campaign would have regarding the 2016 Republican presidential field. Clearly, most of what is contained in this memo is work the DNC is already doing. This exercise is intended to put those ideas to paper. Our goals and strategy. Our hope is that the goal of a potential HRC campaign and the DNC would be one in the same, to make whomever the Republicans nominate unpalatable to a majority of the electorate. We have outlined 3 strategies to obtain our goal. Number 1, force all Republican candidates to lock themselves into extreme conservative positions that will hurt them in a general election. 2, undermine any credibility/trust Republican presidential candidates have to make inroads to our coalition or independents. 3, muddy the waters on any potential attack lodged against HRC. Operationalizing the strategy. Pied Piper candidates. There are 2 ways to approach the strategies mentioned above. The first is to use the field as a whole to inflict damage on itself, similar to what happened to Mitt Romney in 2012. The variety of candidates is a positive here, and many of the lesser known can serve as a cudgel to move the more established candidates further to the right. In this scenario, we don't want to marginalize the more extreme candidates, but make them more Pied Piper candidates who actually represent the mainstream of the Republican Party. Pied Piper candidates include, but aren't limited to, Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, Ben Carson. We need to be elevating the Pied Piper candidates so that they are leaders of the pack and tell the press to take them seriously. The memo, which was addressed to the Democratic National Committee, outlined the strategy and goals a potential Hillary Clinton presidential campaign would have regarding the 2016 Republican presidential field. This document was part of the tens of thousands of emails to and from John Podesta, the chair of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, which were released by WikiLeaks. Other messages published by the whistleblowing organization show how, while the Clinton camp was facilitating the rise of Trump, it was systematically undermining the campaign of Senator Bernie Sanders, Clinton's left-wing opponent. Leaked emails from the Democratic National Committee show that the organization, which is supposed to be bound to impartiality, sabotaged Sanders' insurgent presidential campaign, which had mobilized millions of people and inspired a massive grassroots movement. Sanders, a self-described democratic socialist, repeatedly warned in the primary that he would have a greater chance of defeating Trump. Poll after poll showed that he would have beaten Trump in the general election by wide margins. Instead, his candidacy was repressed, sabotaged, and now Clinton has lost to Trump. Trump and Clinton were the least popular major party presidential nominees in U.S. history, according to an August poll. An October report cited Sanders as the most popular political figure in the country. Now, this is me talking. What the DNC failed to understand is that the American people are ready for a change to the status quo. That's why Obama won in 2008. The American people are desperate for hope and change, real hope and change. Even if the election were not stolen from Donald Trump by the DNC, using many of the same tactics that were used to steal primary elections from Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump still deserved to lose the support of his base. Why? Instead of actually draining the swamp and burning down the establishment, he became a garden variety, status quo defending, military defending conservative. If he had better followed through on his promises, as the next Trump undoubtedly will, he would have won in such a landslide that no amount of election fraud could have defeated him. Supporters of President Trump know that the establishment is corrupt and has been screwing American workers by sending their jobs away, suppressing their wages, and making it difficult for small businesses to compete on a level playing field. Comfy professional managerial class Democrats and Republicans tell themselves that displaced blue-collar workers deserve their fate and should simply learn to code. Look at how hard-working Americans have been treated during the pandemic. They lose their jobs, they can't make their rent payments, and they're forced off of their employer-sponsored health care. Roughly a third of workers are suffering or soon will suffer this plight. Black Lives Matter protesters know that the establishment is corrupt and has been systematically oppressing black people and other people of color. Comfy PMC Democrats and even some Republicans want to signal their virtue by agreeing that our militarized police have gotten out of hand, but still resist calls to abolish or defund the police. Ultimately, these comfy voting class liberals, yes, many Republicans, including those who voted for Ronald Reagan, are economic, the market is God liberals, want what Joe Biden wants, law and order. They don't want to lose their position in the social pecking stratum. They want their shit protected from those they know have been mistreated by the system.
Let me be very clear. The scenes of chaos at the Capitol do not reflect a true America.
Okay.
Do not represent who we are. What we're seeing are a small number of extremists dedicated to lawlessness.
Oh, yeah.
This is not dissent. It's disorder. It's chaos. It borders on sedition.
Oh, sedition.
And it must end now. Okay. I call on this mob to pull back and allow the work of democracy to go forward. You've heard me say before in different contexts, the words of a president matter, no matter how good or bad that president is. At their best, the words of a president can inspire. At their worst, they can incite. And therefore, I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege, to storm the Capitol, to smash windows, to occupy offices, the floor of the United States Senate, rummaging through desks, on the Capitol, on the House of Representatives, threatening the safety of duly elected officials. It's not protest, it's insurrection.
Yeah.
The world's watching.
Yeah, they are.
Like so many other Americans, I am genuinely shocked and saddened that our nation, so long the beacon of light and
Oh,
hope for
yeah.
democracy
The beacon of hope and light, right? The CIA is the beacon of hope and light.
has come to such a dark moment.
Oh, you poor baby.
Through war and strife,
War and strife that you authored.
America's endured much, and we will endure here, and we will prevail again, and will prevail now. The work of the moment and the work of the next 4 years must be the restoration of democracy.
The restoration of the system that's been screwing us for over 40 years.
Of decency, honor, respect, the rule of law.
Yeah, you are a liberal, aren't you?
Just plain, simple decency.
Plain simple screwing the American people so that the professional managerial class can go back to brunch.
The renewal of the politics. It's about solving problems, looking out for one another, not stoking the flames of hate and chaos.
I know your pain. I know your hurt.
I know your pain. I know you're hurting. Joe Biden doesn't seem to know that. Bernie Sanders supporters know that the establishment is corrupt, has been sending jobs away, suppressing wages, enabling predatory banks/credit card companies to charge exorbitant fees to keep us all working for them instead of advancing our own dreams. They know that the neoliberal status quo has been destroying the climate, making it difficult for small businesses, creating an obscenely wealthy plutocratic class, denying workers health care that is not tied to their employment/servitude, artificially elevating the price of pharmaceuticals, allowing food manufacturers to keep Americans obese, putting college students into crippling debt before they can even get started in their careers, economically oppressing other countries through the rampages of the CIA and the rest of the military/intelligence complex, and on and on. What is the correct response to these facts? Obviously, Joe wants us to return to decency. But more than anything else, he wants us to shut the fuck up and return to servitude. Joe Biden doesn't give a fuck about you unless you're part of the professional managerial class. So what is the correct response to these facts? My suggestion is that Trump supporters, Black Lives Matter protesters, Antifa, militias, both white and black, climate protesters, Occupy Wall Street protesters, unions, and all workers, especially essential workers, arrive at the obvious conclusion. The system is rigged against the American workers, and we need to work together to overthrow it. Don't give comfy PMC Democrats and Republicans who vote in primary elections what they want. They want what Joe Biden wants. They want to go back to brunch. They want displaced workers to stop bitching about their fate. Just as in the time when Joe Biden was raising his family, they still don't want their kids in the same neighborhoods and schools as those lower down the pecking order. They want to maintain the status quo. Despite their virtue signaling, they don't give a fuck about essential workers unless, of course, their Uber Eats don't arrive on time. Yes, this is a class war. Dr. King and Malcolm X were right about this. We need to strike. We need to march. We need to riot until the status quo of the wealthiest nation in history changes enough to bring real justice to we the people.